RoboCop. No, not the good version. Well, let's let time decide if this is a good movie. Um, alright, so this is RoboCop, the 2014 version, not the Peter Weller version. This is the Joel... Is it Joel Kinnaman who plays him? I never am good with reboot actors, unless it's like Amazing Spider-Man. Oh, I need to put that on my list of reviews. Because, on a side note, I really do want to review every movie I've ever seen, or every movie I own. Um, like even the ones that are out in my secret shelf that is not so secret anymore. And stuff I've recently bought through a thrift store, stuff like that. You know, I want to do that someday. But anyways, back to RoboCop 2014. This is the Xbox video rental. I feel like it should be more upfront about that and not just say it in the title, because it seems I don't know. It seems dishonest. So RoboCop is one of those rare wow, one of those rare reboot movies where it basically actually has a better message than the original, in my opinion. I haven't seen much of the original, um, so I'm not gonna say which version is better. But honestly, I like this RoboCop a lot more than the Peter Weller version. Because, and this isn't not like a Peter Weller versus Joel Kinnaman thing. I'm just gonna call him Joel Kinnaman, even if that isn't the guy who plays him. Um, he was on The Killing. I know that, and actually there's a new episode. That's one of those TV shows I need to watch. That's coming to Netflix as a Netflix original. Um, back on track. It's one of those rare reboot movies, where I feel like, who made this? Jose Padilla, actually, and his crew actually had some influence on what happened with the movie, even though at the beginning it doesn't seem like it. Because it's got a really good direction going for it. It's like, okay, it's humans versus robots, instead of, hey, here's this robot cop, and you got a robot. Um, and it's not even like it's not even trying to be a commentary, but at the same time, when you really think about it, there is something profound about that. Um, that it kind of has as a subplot, I guess. If that's making any sense. Um, and I feel like Jose Padilla, or whoever the casting director for this movie was, did an excellent job. Even though I'm not a big fan of the whole, hey, this, the whole slackjaw Detroit accent thing. I felt like they got hammy in those parts where it was just Joel Kinnaman speaking as a Detroit citizen, well, as a Detroit cop. I was like, oh, come on, that's hammy. And I really hate when it just goes all in on the hammy parts, and I'm like, oh, come on. Because there's parts where it's like, Tin Man. It's like, and then there's this part where it's like, if I only had a brain. In fact, the villains in this movie, if you can even call them villains, aren't just aren't just the clear-cut bad guys, because they are bad guys. They just want to make money. Um, and then my brain, that makes them bad guys. They're just unlikable. I never liked Michael Keaton as the head of Omnicorp. Although Omnicorp itself is kind of weird. It's kind of like, I've nailed why it feels weird. The The reason why Omnicorp feels weird because it feels too far-reaching. It's not just medical research at the time. It's not just robots. It's pretty much everything. You feel like Omnicorp has their hands in everything. You feel like it wouldn't be too far of a stretch to say they're making medicines. It wouldn't be too far of a stretch to say they're making civilian robots. It's not too much of a stretch that they planned assassinations. Stuff like that. It gives me the Abstergo effect, I'll call it, from Assassin's Creed, where it's like, you know, because Abstergo just sat back, or Omnicorp in this case, just sat back and was like, wow, we must be pretty evil. We must be pretty evil. Like, and that's one of my cons as well. They don't really ever seem to think about what happens. They don't just have a thought where it's just a quiet moment where it's like, wow, we screwed up. It seems to be so new that it moves to a beat that it can't quite keep up with. It kind of buckles under its own weight. And inherently makes the plot very like that, all the scenes. Except for like the really emotional scenes where it's like, okay, wait a few minutes. And I'm just gonna throw a really spoiler warning out here. I'll just hold up my finger and I'll lower it when I'm done. Okay, there is a scene in here where Alex Murphy, is confronted by his wife, and she's like, our son is doing bad in school or whatever. He's just like a mess. And Joel Kinnaman's character, Alex Murphy, which they didn't change the name, they just changed the story. He goes to the house out of compassion, I guess, just out of maybe even out of curiosity. He goes to the house, observes his own crime scene. The Omnicorp people are like, holy crap! He just overrided our dopamine controls. That's screwed up. And then he's like, he finds out his son is like terrified of him, which is just, should hit home, but it does not hit home. It's just like, okay. I mean, it hurts your heart a little bit, but it's not like, oh my gosh, I feel for these characters. So that's done for the spoilers. But yeah, that moment just kind of soured me on the whole thing. But the soundtrack is solid. Everything besides the plot and the logic, really, is pretty solid. I mean, there are some hammy moments, like I said before, but honestly, this is a movie I would rent again. Actually, technically, I've rented it 2 times, and I might even go buy it. But it's like more like a, I'll buy it if it's $15. But that's just me. I will probably be actively looking for RoboCop in the near future on Blu-ray and along with the original. A side note, I hope they actually do release. I don't know if this is a thing, but I hope they release the original RoboCops alongside the new RoboCop franchise on one Blu-ray. Not one Blu-ray disc, obviously, but like in one case, like the I think of the Batman anthology or the Alien anthology, something like that, or the X-Men anthology. I think it's what it was. Apparently, there are a lot of anthologies out there. That about does it for this review. I would rent it If you're just borderline curious. But if you're overly curious and you're a fan of the original, still rent it, but cautiously rent it. Don't be like, oh, I'll get this in HD. Honestly, just get it in an SD. There's not that big of a difference if you're streaming it. Because thing is about Xbox Video and iTunes, they really don't download it to your device. What they do is set up a streaming cache. So if you rent it again, you'll be able to watch it instantly instead of re-downloading the movie. And if you buy it, it just activates a certain part of the cache where it's like, okay, there's not a time limit on this anymore. But that's a topic for another time. So anyways, you guys know what to do. Really excited about the videos I have coming up. I've got World's End. I've got a lot coming up. I'm just looking at my document. But yeah, I said I wouldn't do any videos, but I'm actually pretty burnt out on Netflix. So, videos. Probably actually a few today. I need to I need to finish all these reviews. But anyways, you know what to do. Subscribe, share, like, all that shenanigans. Bye-bye!